And this is Kent Butterworth, and I directed this episode back in 1987. I'm here with Tom Minton and Mike Kazaleh. This is a homage. The opening here is an homage to the opening of
the Great Piggyback
Robbery Clampett movie. So this is basically our everybody that worked in this show had a love affair with comic books. So Scrappy is our little hero. He loves comic books. So we're coming up here, and we're going to see all these great comic books that Scrappy likes to read.
Bruce Timm do those covers.
These are all drawn by Bruce Timm with caricatures of the staff.
And Ralph, too. You see
of Ralph.
You're going to see Ralph on the cover of one of these, like the old mad, weird comic things, the old DC comics.
I'm a member of the Cosmic Mr. Magica Crime-Busting League. Now I can fight criminals just like my heroes.
Dick Tracy, yes.
Detective Murray the Barbarian.
And there's Ralph in the egg there. That's Ralph's head.
Space. Well, let's see.
Obviously, Scrappy likes DC Comics. And at this point, the whole style of the picture changes, and we tried to get a comic book look to everything with the Ben-Day dots. We actually had to send piles of Zipatone to the studio in Korea to make sure that we got that.
It was
Taiwan.
Taiwan
it was, okay.
It was Cuckoo's Nest in Taiwan.
Right.
And Dave Marshall, we should mention Dave Marshall, who was his director, did a lot of work on these things.
This is possibly the first caricature of Arnold in a cartoon.
And little do we know he'd be governor someday.
Of the brain bats from Sirius 5.
Forget them. Let's hit this town.
We'll get a secret hideout and terrorize the populace. What are we gonna do?
And everything was supposed to look like a comic book. From this point on, become comic book world. So this is a whole art direction intensive movie. There was another Bruce Timm piece.
This is the one gag I gave you for this picture was the Elvis gag with the balloon, which is an homage to the Hindenburg disaster and the later day.
We should mention
Elvis.
that this episode was written by Andrew Stanton, who's a famous Pixar producer now, as well as Nate Canfor and Rich Moore.
Yeah.
They were the Cal Arts kids on this production.
This is like
Bruce Timm laid this section out. He really enjoyed drawing
Elvis.
Fat Elvis.
Of course, we don't refer to him as Fat Elvis because he's the king.
He's the king. It's just the king. Yes.
You couldn't call him that. I'd actually wanted to do this joke for like 10 years, and you couldn't do it anywhere. So Mighty Mouse, you were stuck for a gag, and you said, you have a gag here, and I gave you this one.
The king has burst into flames.
And the king has burst into flames, and here we go.
It's the Hindenburg.
The Hindenburg disaster, which you don't see enough of that on Saturday morning.
A few people got the joke.
Well, it's been done 100 times since by other people who make more money than we did. Here we go. Oh, this is the Safari Inn where Mighty Mouse lived.
Mighty Mouse and all of his all the pals, everybody when they're not working, there's Petey Pate, there's Kirk
Big
Douglas,
Murray,
and it was
the pirate captain.
It was patterned after a real Safari Motel on Olive Boulevard in Burbank.
It's probably still there, I think.
Yeah.
This is our Russian constructivist architecture that I was obsessed with at the time.
Now, my faithful minions, I
think this section was laid out by Istvan.
That looked like
talking about Istvan Maros. He was a Hungarian genius who showed up at the office every day wearing a three-piece suit and a bow tie.
Was it Majoros? Majoros.
Maros. He was he's a genius. He's been working on The Simpsons for many years. He had a great sense of abstract cubism in his drawings.
He'd worked on the Oscar-winning short The Fly too.
He created that and didn't get the Oscar for it. He was very very angry about that. Yes.
Amazingly, the animators at Taiwan seem to have an easier time working with his layouts than anyone
basically,
else's.
he would do all the layouts, and I did all the sheets on this myself, and basically all they had to do was in between this stuff. I mean, all of his poses were there, and if you did the in betweens properly, then it would all work. And
that looks like his stuff right there.
Pretty much,
yeah.
And this is definitely him.
That's definitely his.
It's just real fun looking stuff.
Nobody else could make that work. He made it work.
Let this be a lesson to you, my
I think this is Pataki's voice
Pataki,
here, doing one of his other voices. He's really best doing his
method actors.
Well, I'm saying when he does the cow, he's doing the George C. Scott voice.
And that was the first time anybody had done George C. Scott in animation.
The first time George C. Scott.
Also, that was the first male cow in animation.
First male cow animation, yes.
Which we'll mention later, because John and I had tried to do that earlier with something we tried to sell, Comet the Wonder Cow, but it didn't go anywhere. And this actually was several years later.
Yes.
And now it's everywhere.
I'll I'll see you in the funny papers, Mighty Mouse.
You got the title into it. Well, that's cool.
Goodbye, forever.
Yeah, see, ideally with cartoons like this, the script was a point of reference. You'd start with a script, and if the script was good, you use that as a point of reference. Then and then make the film in the layouts, the designs, the gags, the timing, add gags, and again, we had that kind of freedom where the network wasn't expecting to see what was in the script. There'd be a lot more.
Well, nobody had ever in this decade, in the 80s, put a lot of extra jokes in the layouts. That wasn't done. People didn't do that. You didn't deviate from the board. The board was a picture.
Well, or the script was a picture.
The script and the board.
The script, everything, the script was everything, and nothing else was added or taken away from it. So there was, it gave the illusion of control, but I think control is overrated. I think, there's a lot more fun to in these cartoons because of the spontaneity
you can
that
see
we got into it.
Well, there's a lot of people who, in our case, had waited a decade to get a chance to vent, and we did. And it's a lot of younger people who came along who didn't know this was atypical. This
was a lot of anger. This was 10 years of pent up anger and frustration.
Ralph, and during the making of this, Ralph said, "Nothing is any good unless it's a reaction to something else." And this was a reaction to quite a bit of stuff. So
Well, in this case, we actually liked comic books. I mean, everybody liked comics, so we weren't mean at them. We weren't angry at them like we were at some of the things that we parodied. This
section of music is library, but it's very well cut. They had some good music editors over there at Score.
Yes,
you never know.
You should mention Score Productions.
New York City, they did this. Very few players, about 8 people.
Glenn Dawn was the composer who did a fantastic job. I don't know if he did any other cartoon music, but
he still puts this on his resume. He still talks about Mighty Mouse in his seminars.
I'll say this section was laid out by Ken Boyer, who's a terrific artist. And this episode, I believe I had John's crew of layouts. So
it looks like his crew,
John's crew plus Istvan, because Istvan wasn't usually on his crew. Yeah, this is all Ken Boyer. I think he had some really nice, powerful drawings of Arnold.
Why does that say BT on the front of the car?
Bruce Timm. This is a reference, obviously, to Terminator 2, where Arnold gets in the car and you can only see the top of his head. Obscure jokes that...
They're there.
Nobody would get it. But if you don't get them, it's fine, because there's another one coming along.
And you'll watch the cartoon again, which is the way television used to be. It's okay.
Therapy.
This was such wonderful therapy, he said.
Oh, I will give you such a pinch.
It's a Joe Besser line. I will give you such a pinch.
Yes.
But Joe Besser replaced Curly in the Three Stooges in the 1950s. He's just loaded with all kinds of arcane things. That rearing back pose is something that Ken Boyer would do, and it was kind of coming off of Glenn Keane, off of the Radigan character from Oliver and Company.
Please, let me out! Let me out!
Oh, had enough, huh?
Please, it's
11 minutes is a long time. It's amazing, huh?
11 minutes was a very awkward format to work with. It was a little bit too long to do a basic theme and variations cartoon. Like a Roadrunner Coyote cartoon or Tex Avery cartoon where you just do variations on a theme. Well, you seem like, but 7 minutes is a better format. Like this cartoon does seem like it should have hit its finale by now.
Yes, this is, it's actually escalating to a place you don't expect. This is, I believe, the Space Brain is Lisa Raggio doing a regional accent. Mighty Mouse is one of the few series that did regional accents. You're about to show those brain characters, which are kind of...
the caricature of Tom Minton.
Mighty Mouse is a wimp, but what does it mean?
It means you made me mad.
But this was before. This was before Pinky and the Brain.
It might have been Bruce who did those drawings, and Bruce did the other drawing.
Well, actually, there was a laid out by Lynn Naylor. Laid this section out. I believe I did the original sketch of the character. I think Lynn laid this whole section out. This is coming up it's an homage to Wally Wood.
Yeah.
And EC horror comics and sci-fi comics. Again, using extensive use of Ben Day and
there we go.
look at that. There we go.
Oh, yeah, you got the Wally Wood spaceship.
Massive collage of...
Grey's Anatomy.
There
it is.
Beast of Art. It's Tom Minton. If anybody wants to know what Tom Minton looks like, that's a pretty good likeness.
It's before the Brain of Pinky and the Brain, which also was supposed to be me, but I can't. I'm not supposed to talk about that.
Knocked off from the same caricature.
Yes. Vroom. Okay, this is all nice. This is very good. It's amazing how this See the oil on his face? That's between the cell and the plate, and that's how clear that is.
Yeah, this is old school animation that was done like on pieces of celluloid.
Those splotches are where the cell paint wasn't flat on the backside.
Yeah,
right. You get a shadow, right?
Yeah, you get that on the brain there. That's actually something. Normally, the polarized
shows up.
The polarized light usually.
Now, if we had
hides it.
another, $20 million, we could clean all that up digitally, like they did with Bambi.
Stone cold by now.
Here he goes.
Yeah, another weird technical thing. We were using some colored ink lines, like on his mouth and around the black on his head, which.
Oh, that's the blue on his head there, yeah.
The studios were avoiding that because that was an added expense, but we actually did that in several characters.
Now, this is Pearl Pureheart, who was supposed to be one of the main characters in the series, but I think she didn't appear in very many episodes.
This is the only time she makes an appearance in any of the ones we're doing today. I believe Lisa Raggio was also the voice of Pearl, it says here. And Yestiles is also a Joe Besser line.
And besides Mighty Mouse, is probably the only character that was from the old cartoons.
Right.
Except for the one time we used Oil Can Harry.
We did use Oil Can Harry.
Twice. We used him twice.
Tried to bring him back, but he didn't really catch.
Second season, we used him a couple times.
Yes.